Imagine the vast, blue expanse of the South Pacific. Endless. Unforgiving. And then, a sight to chill the blood. A vessel, adrift. Not broken, not sunk, but eerily, impossibly empty. Heavily listing, deeply flooded, yet stubbornly afloat. This was the MV Joyita, discovered on November 10, 1955. A ghost ship, its engines silent, its decks deserted. Not a single soul remained aboard. 25 people had simply vanished. What unspeakable event transpired on these lonely waters? The Joyita herself, a 69-foot fishing and passenger charter vessel, was found in a state that only deepened the enigma. Her port side was deeply submerged, the deck nearly awash. The engine room, flooded to a depth of several feet. But remarkably, she was still afloat, buoyant due to her cork-lined hull. No distress signals had been sent. No signs of struggle, no obvious cause for panic. Just an abandoned vessel, bearing witness to an absence that screamed louder than any alarm. Our story begins more than a month earlier, on October 3, 1955. The bustling port of Apia, Western Samoa. The MV Joyita prepared for what should have been a routine inter-island journey. A vibrant scene, ordinary lives unfolding, unaware of the impending tragedy. This was the last time the 25 souls would be seen on solid ground, their faces full of expectation, their goodbyes perhaps more final than anyone could have imagined. The air filled with the promise of a short, easy voyage. The destination, Tokelau, a remote island group about 270 miles north of Samoa. The Joyita carried medical supplies, timber, 80 oil drums, and other provisions essential for the isolated communities. But more importantly, she carried people. This wasn't just a cargo run, it was a lifeline. Families, officials, sailors, all bound for a small cluster of atolls. They boarded the ship with trust, believing in a safe passage across familiar waters. Among the 25 were 9 passengers. Government officials, a doctor, a European planter and his wife, a native clerk, and 2 children. Each had a story, a reason for their journey. Their presence humanizes the mystery, turning a maritime puzzle into a haunting question about individual fates. Where were they headed? What were their dreams? Their lives, so vividly real, now form a collective blank. The sea swallowed not just a ship's manifest, but a rich tapestry of human lives. The crew, 16 in all, were a mix of nationalities and experience. Led by Captain Thomas H. Miller, a seasoned mariner with a reputation for reliability, they knew these waters. They were the backbone of the voyage, entrusted with the safety of their passengers and cargo. Yet, even their expertise couldn't prevent whatever befell the Joyita. 16 skilled hands, 16 professional lives, now bound together in a riddle of the sea. What force could compel such experienced sailors to abandon their posts? Before the Joyita even left Apia, there was a problem. One of her 2 engines was effectively out of service. A known issue, a potential risk. But the journey was deemed safe enough with the remaining engine. A gamble? A calculated risk? Hindsight, of course, is 20/20. But this detail, seemingly minor at the time, looms large over the ensuing events. Was this a critical oversight? Or merely the first of many factors contributing to an unprecedented disaster? And so, on October 3, the MV Joyita left Apia harbor. Chugging slowly, perhaps a little more cautiously, but confidently. The sun setting, casting long shadows over the departing vessel. No one waved goodbye, imagining they were witnessing the last moments of 25 people on Earth. The rhythmic thrum of her single working engine, a sound of ordinary travel, would soon be swallowed by an extraordinary silence. The horizon, a line of promise, would become a boundary of disappearance. The Joyita was expected to arrive in Tokelau on October 6. But the days passed, and no word came. The silence began to stretch, turning from mild concern into gnawing anxiety. By October 6, she was officially reported overdue. The routine voyage had become anything but. Every hour now sharpened the edge of worry, painting an increasingly bleak picture. What could cause such a delay? Had she encountered a storm? Or something far more sinister? With the overdue report, a massive search operation was launched. The Royal New Zealand Air Force, or RNZF, spearheaded the effort, dispatching aircraft across the vast ocean. Pilots scanned the endless blue, their eyes straining against the horizon. They were looking for a needle in a haystack, a small vessel swallowed by an immense and indifferent sea. Hope, tinged with dread, fueled their efforts. Every flight, every mile, a desperate prayer for a glimpse of the missing 25. The scale of the search was staggering. Approximately 100,000 square miles of ocean were meticulously combed. Imagine that. An area larger than many countries, traversed repeatedly, yet yielding no trace. No wreckage. No lifeboats. No debris. And most importantly, no sign of the 25 people. The ocean held its secrets tightly, mocking the human effort to penetrate its depths. Each passing day, the hope for survivors diminished, replaced by a growing sense of foreboding. Days bled into weeks. October faded into November. Still, nothing. The search was eventually called off. The Joyita and her 25 passengers and crew were presumed lost at sea. A tragic, yet understandable conclusion, given the vastness of the Pacific and the limitations of 1950s search technology. Families mourned. The incident began to recede into local lore, another sad tale whispered on the trade winds. But the sea, it seemed, had one more card to play. One more unsettling revelation. Then, a glimmer. On November 10, 5 weeks after her disappearance, a merchant ship, the MV Tuvalu, sighted a vessel drifting some 600 miles northwest of Fiji. It was undeniably the Joyita. Not at the bottom of the ocean, but afloat, as if merely taking a long, unannounced detour. The shock of her discovery was profound, instantly rekindling the mystery, but also deepening it. Why was she still afloat? And more pressingly, where were the 25 people? The location of discovery was crucial. She was found approximately 600 miles northwest of Fiji, far, far west of her intended route to Tokelau. This wasn't merely off course, it was a completely different trajectory. What force, what sequence of events, could have driven the Joyita so far astray? And why, if the crew were still aboard, did they not attempt to correct their bearing? The ship's drift patterns suggested something catastrophic had happened early in the voyage, long before her discovery. Investigators boarded the ghostly vessel. What they found, or didn't find, was chilling. The ship's chronometer was stopped at 10:25. The medical bag of the doctor, found on deck, contained torn bandages. The radio, tuned to the international distress frequency, yet no message had been sent. For life rafts and other survival equipment were missing. But no sign of the 25. No bodies. No blood. Just an overwhelming sense of sudden, unexplained abandonment. A phantom ship, carrying phantom passengers. The discovery of the torn bandages in the doctor's bag suggested injury. The stopped chronometer might point to a precise moment of crisis. The missing life raft suggested an evacuation. But an evacuation from what? And why no distress call, especially with the radio tuned to the correct frequency? The silence from the ship, then and now, speaks volumes. It implies a situation so dire, so sudden, that normal protocols were overridden, or rendered impossible. What could have happened that left no time to call for help? The official inquiry ultimately concluded that the Joyita's hull had been damaged early in the voyage, leading to flooding that incapacitated one of the engines and eventually the other. But this explanation only accounts for why the ship was drifting. It provides no satisfactory answer for the most chilling question of all: what became of the 25 people? Why did they leave a still afloat vessel? And where did they go? No wreckage, no bodies, no clear signs of a struggle. Just absence. To this day, the fate of the MV Joyita's 25 passengers and crew remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries. Was it piracy? An insurance scam gone wrong? An attack by some unknown force? Or simply an unprecedented series of unfortunate events culminating in a desperate, ultimately futile attempt at survival? We may never know. Their stories, cut short, echo across the decades. 25 lives, leaving behind only questions, adrift in the vast, silent ocean of the unknown.